This week was one of those weeks where I simply could not choose what to read. Everything just seemed good to me. Since I did not know what to choose, I let you choose my reads this week. So in this video, we get 3 books that Twitch chat actually chose for me to read. So the options for the first poll were Atalanta, Babel, Phantasma, Scythe, and The Lying Room. And the book that you lot picked was Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. All I knew about this book is that it is a dark fantasy romance. I had recently read the Book of Azrael and absolutely adored that. So I wrongfully assumed that this book was similar to that. And oh boy, was I in for a ride. In this book, we follow Ophelia. She enters a deadly competition, aka Phantasma, to rescue her missing sister. Phantasma consists of 9 trials for the 9 levels of hell. Each trial is more deadly than the last. All that for one person to win and to be granted the wish of a lifetime. Inside the mansion, Ophelia meets Blackwell. Blackwell is a phantom who offers to help her through these lethal challenges in exchange for a decade of her life. Meanwhile, if she can uncover the reason Blackwell is bound to this place, she can both win the competition and keep the decade of her life. And of course, it wouldn't be a romantasy if they didn't lose their hearts to each other in the meantime. Halfway through the book, I realized that I had completely misjudged this book by comparing it to the Book of Azrael. This book is way spicier than Book of Azrael was. Whilst it was a lot spicier, it still had a good plot going for it. I could have known that this book was so spicy if I had read the trigger warnings, but since I don't get triggered by a lot of things, I usually just skip over it. That should have taught me enough. This book is spicy, but luckily the spice is hot. At least in my opinion. I am happy, however, that the plot is still prevalent and is still very interesting and doesn't get completely lost. So if you are going to read this, be warned and don't make the mistake that I made and know what this book is before getting into it. And if you personally do not like spice in a book, I do think that you could still enjoy this book, as you could skip over the spy scenes. Even though there are quite a few of them, I don't think you will miss anything in the plot if you don't read the spy scenes. It does, I mean, okay, to be fair, it does say it contains explicit sexual content. So, yes, but that does not, pertain to how much of it there is, If there were ever a divine entity I'd worship, it'd be you. I finished the book and I must say that I really enjoyed it. The plot was interesting. I absolutely adore trials in a book. Personally, I did think that some of them were a little bit boring and the author could have definitely done more with these trials. The ending was semi-predictable, but it still hit. The spice was enjoyable and the characters had chemistry as well, not just the physical attraction. So all in all, I really enjoyed my time and I ended up giving Phantasma 4 stars. So now it's time for you guys to pick my next read. For the next poll, the choices were Prison Healer, The Bones Beneath My Skin, Scythe, and Golden Sun. And you lot chose The Prison Healer to be my next read. So I am halfway through The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. This is a YA fantasy set in Zalinov, a death prison. Here, 17-year-old Kiva has survived the last 10 years being the prison's healer. When the rebel queen is captured and sent to the prison, Kiva receives a message. Don't let her die. We are coming. The queen is to face the trial by ordeal, a dangerous set of trials that can only end in one of two ways: death or freedom. Kiva volunteers to undergo these trials to keep the queen, who is very sick, safe, because this way there is still a chance that she can get out alive. Thus far, I am enjoying this book. It is nothing phenomenal, but it is a good time. I am flying through a book. It is definitely keeping my attention, and I love the kind of found family that you get in this book. I do have some assumptions as to where this story is gonna go and what some of the plot twists might be, but there is only one way to find out, and that is to continue reading this book. We have come to the end of the second book that I read for this video, and my feelings are about the same. I was mostly right about the suspicions that I had, so it didn't give me the wow factor that I've seen a lot of other people have. So I'm just gonna stick with what I said before. This is a enjoyable read. It's nothing phenomenal, and it's nothing that I haven't read before, but it's still a very solid book, and therefore I am landing on a 3-star for this book. I am, however, very interested to see where the rest of the series is going to take us, so I will definitely be picking up the second and third book, also because people are saying that it gets better and better. So now it is time to choose the final book for this video, and I decided to let this be a co-op pick. Now, when I made the poll, I kind of didn't realize that there were only 2 authors in there, even though there were 4 books in the poll. I put The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and Vicious, both by V.E. Schwab, and then we have Nettle and Bone and Padeline's Grace by T. Kingfisher, and Joel chose The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Now, this is kind of a good pick since it is one of my 25 books to read in 2025, and it is one that I'm really excited about. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is a historical fantasy. It follows a young woman named Adeline in 1714, and when she's young, she makes the bargain of a lifetime. But bargains don't come without a cost. Cursed to be forgotten by everyone she meets, Addie spends centuries wandering the world, leaving no trace of her being there. But everything changes when nearly 3 centuries later, she meets a young man in a bookstore who remembers her. Now, a little disclaimer before we get into this book. At the starting point, I was already 30% in the book because I read this book last year, but soft DNF'd it because I was nearing a reading slump and I just couldn't get into it. So I flipped back a couple of pages, but still remembered what happened up until that point, so I just continued onwards from the 30% mark. So I made it through another 40% of the book, which means that we're at 70%, and I am really enjoying it. The pacing of this one is a little bit slow compared to the other 2 books that I've read, so it took me a little bit of time to get into that, but so far I think the author did a wonderful job of getting me connected to Adeline, and I'm excited to see where this book leads. I do, however, want to note that I did expect Addie to have more character development, seeing that she has now lived for 300 years. She's been through wars, she's moved places and countries, and I don't feel like I see a exceeding level of maturity or changes in her mindset and character that reflect that it's been this way for 300 years. And that might just be my interpretation of what someone who's lived 300 years should act and feel like, so it might just be a me thing, but that is something that I did expect that we didn't see, at least so far. Who knows what the last 30% hold in store, but so far this book is looking to be about a 4-star, but I've seen a lot of people cry at the end, so who knows how much emotion this book is gonna get out of me. It is the end of the week and I need to get this video up, so that was all for this week. These were all the books that I read. I loved this idea and it is so fun to have you pick my books, and there were definitely some bangers in here. So my question to you, have you actually read any of these books, or are you just excited for me to read them? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Maybe this one, where I try to read 200 pages each day for a week. And otherwise, maybe in the next one. Bye for now.